Hello everyone. For today's episode of Monster Mondays, the Telegram community has voted, a few of them, but enough to where it's about the amount of my subscriber count, which is currently at 4. Though when you're viewing this, it may be more. Hopefully more, but whatever. So for Monster Mondays episode 2, I was asked to do man, door, hand, hook, car, door. See if I can't fix up some of the grammar, because supposedly it otherwise had potential if not for the improper grammar. And there was another person who voted in the same kind of category but didn't submit their suggestion, so I winged it and figured, okay, well, since the first one was going to be kind of a Trollpasta that they threw my way, I'd do a few others as well, as one of my old ones that nobody's heard before until now. Well, what I can remember of it, because if I gotta be honest, it was one of those things that I heard of Creepypasta I thought was kind of cool, but then I said, here's how I would spoof it, and then I just kind of wrote a very, very short piece that was like maybe not more than a paragraph or two long to respond to it. I'll explain more when I get down to that one, though. In the meantime, let's start with man, door, hand, car, door. I'm going to start with the originals, so if you've never heard it before, you're not left out as to what I changed. And then, because it's very short, I'm doing the comparative of that. And then you'll see my version, how I kind of fixed it up with the grammar and made it at least a little more passable. Obviously, it's still not perfect. I only did this in like an hour or two, if that, for all of these, so I spent editing all of these, so it's hardly a masterwork by any stretch of the imagination, but it's certainly an improvement. Alright, so here we go. Man, door, hand, hook, car, door. The original goes like this. Man and girl go out to drive under moonlight. They stop on a side of road. He turned to his girl and say, "Baby, I love you very much." "What is it, honey?" "Our car is broken down. I think the engine is broken. I'll walk and get some more fuel." "Okay, I'll stay here and look after our stereo. There have been a news report of stereos being stolen." "Good idea. Let's keep the doors locked no matter what. I love you, sweaty." So the guy left to get fuel for the car. After 2 hours, the girls say, Where's my baby? He was supposed to be back by now." Then the girl hear a scratching. Wrong version of hear. H-E-R-E is what they used. And a voice say, "Let me in!" The girl doesn't do it, and after a while she goes to sleep. The next morning she wakes up and finds her boyfriend still not there. She gets out to check, and man, door, hand, hook, car, door. As you could see, it left a lot of room for me to make some improvements, even if just to the grammar. So in my version it goes like this. A man and a woman go out for a drive under the moonlight. They find a place to stop on the side of the road. Oh, also my version would be correctly titled Man with a Hook Outside the Car Door, which is what I thought, they probably were going for. My version goes like this. A man and woman go out for a drive under the moonlight. They find a place to stop on the side of the road. He turns to his girl and says, "Baby, I love you very much. Is something wrong, honey?" "Our car has stopped. I cannot get it to move. I think we're out of gas. I'll walk to get some more fuel." "Okay, I'll stay here and guard the car. There have been news reports of stereos being stolen from people's cars." "Good idea. Keep the doors locked no matter what. I love you, sweetie." So the man left to get fuel for the car. After 2 hours, the woman wonders, "Where's my boyfriend? He was supposed to be back by now." Then she heard a scratching sound and a voice yell, "Let me in." The girl refuses, then after a while goes to sleep. The following day she wakes up, finds her boyfriend still not there. There's no noise coming from outside, so she opens the door to investigate. She finds a man with a hook for a hand leaning against the side of her car door, grasping the handle. And that was man, door, hand, hook, car door, or man with a hook outside the car door, depending on whether it's my version or theirs. And now we move on to one that even Mr. Creepypasta managed to find way back when it was still relevant. And it was one of the few times he'd ever done a parody creepypasta. Same thing with the next one after that, which is the Day of All to Blood. But anyway, so the original version was Who Was Phone, and my version was Who Was On the Phone. And even in the original, there were actually two versions of the same story. Mr. Creepypasta covered the last of the two, within the original. And more than likely it was because the first entry was a bit more explicit by comparison. And so it goes like this. Okay, so basically it is like this. You are at a friend's house for like the night or whatever. And then you guys are making out on the couch. Yeah. And then like her dad calls on the phone and says, "No, she likes it more if you use the other hand." Yeah. And you're like, "Oh, dude, your dad's trying to give me advice on how to diddle you." And then she's like, "I don't have a dad," or whatever. But what? Who was on the phone? Or, sorry, who was phone? And then the version that Mr. Creepypasta read was, so you're with your honey and you're making out when the phone rings. You answer and the voice is, "What are you doing with my daughter?" You tell your girl and she say, "My dad is dead." Then who was phone? And then here's how I fixed it up. You're at your girlfriend's house for like the night, and you both are making out on the couch. The phone rings. The anonymous caller says, "No, I think she likes it more if you use your other hand." Given the supposed age of the caller and sex, you presume the caller is her father. "Oh, I believe your dad is trying to give me advice on how to pleasure you." She responds, "My dad isn't alive." If that's the case, who was on the phone? And then for the alternate version, I said, so you're with your honey making out when the phone rings. You answer it and the voice asks, "What are you doing with my daughter?" You tell your girlfriend and she says, "My dad is dead." Then who was on the phone? And that was Who Was Phone or Who Was On the Phone. And then Today of All to Blood, or The Day of All the Blood. Now the original, the biggest problem with this one is just, it's all in caps. Otherwise, there's only like 5 or 6, grammatical errors that my Grammarly was able to find. And so it goes like this. "This is the story of the day when all this blood. A man was walking around and blood started coming out of him everywhere. There was so much blood it filled up an elevator. He went to a store and there was just blood all over the place. People were slipping in it and they were all grossed out. He tried to go swimming and all of the sharks went crazy, bitten everybody. He got chased by all the vampires ever. One time blood got on a kid and a dog. At the end of the day, everyone decided they would send him to space so that he would stop getting blood everywhere. But then the blood filled up space and everyone got killed. The scariest part is that the man was you, or he was a lady if you were a lady, and you forgot that this happened." And that's what it sounds like when you speak in all caps on the internet, but I'm sure most of us know that. Now my version, I took off all the caps and then I fixed the few grammatical errors that were there and maybe added maybe rephrased a few things to make it clearer. And it goes like this. The day of all the blood. This is the story of the day where there was all this blood. A man walked around and the blood was pouring out of him. There was so much blood it filled an elevator. He went to a store and blood spread everywhere. People were slipping on puddles of blood and were both grossed out and hurt. One could not tell which blood was from the man or them. He went swimming and the sharks went insane and frenzied and began biting him and other swimmers. The vampires were no less ravenous to the man. Then he got a kid and a dog while they were playing on their lawn. It wasn't long before people had headed up to here with the man and sent him into space to avoid him bleeding all over the earth. Unfortunately, the blood spread throughout outer space and eventually fell, killing everyone on the planet and throughout the galaxy. Perhaps the scariest part is that the man was you, or a woman if you're a woman, and you forgot that this happened. Or rather, you forgot that this happened. And that was Today of All to Blood, or The Day of All the Blood. And then for our next to last story, we've got a skeleton popped out. Or a skeleton appeared, as I would have written it. The pasta. Warning, if you have a heart condition, do not read this. You will drop on the floor flopping like a fish. By the way, this one's on all caps too. So I fixed that, and again, relatively few errors. Warning, if you have a heart condition, do not read this. You will drop on the floor flopping like a fish while clenching your heart, seeing as you're having a heart attack. Also, if you have a sensitive anus, do not read this, as this brick you shat will be painful. A few years ago, a man was walking down a road because his car broke down and saw a car coming up behind him, so he stuck up his thumb to hitchhike, and the car stopped ahead of him. He ran to the passenger side and opened the door. When he opened the door, a skeleton popped out. And my version has it that, and I went a little funny with it because, what the hell? I can't be serious all the time. Warning, if you have a heart condition, do not read this. You will have a heart attack and be under arrest by Officer Cardiac. You may even spasm on the floor like a fish, clenching your heart. Also, if you have an anal condition, do not read this. It will literally make you shit bricks painfully. It happened a few years ago. A man was traveling down a road because his car had stalled. He saw a car coming up, and as he looked behind him and stuck out his thumb in hopes of a pickup. The car stopped about 40 yards in front of him. He ran to the passenger side of the car and opened the door. A skeleton appeared in the passenger seat and fell out of the vehicle. And that was the end of that one. Now, you're probably wondering about the Blip on the Map story I was talking about. Well, I couldn't find the old Trollpasta through Google search or through my document searches on my computer. So, I'll just have to kind of give you what best I remember as I kind of rewrote it. There was a Creepypasta way back when called Jeff Went Left, so this guy is like in this maze, and he gets a notebook of this person who says, okay, I'm going to try going left, and if it's a safe path, I'll come back and update my journal. But he never updates the journal, so the person is left to wonder what happened to him, figuring, okay, I know he went left, but was it safe, was it not? So, in a similar vein, I created a Trollpasta called a Blip on the Map. And it goes like this. You're watching your phone's map feature on a bus and notice a warning symbol blip on the opposite side of a freeway a few miles back. You shrug and think nothing of it, figuring, hey, it happens every day on pretty much every freeway. Suddenly something shakes the bus and it flips over, causing you to drop your phone and fall on your head. When you regain your composure, you pick it up and see you are now a warning blip on the map. And that was a blip on the map from best I can remember. Yeah, it was a Trollpasta, so I made it intentionally bad. I don't really know what else to say about it. Though, I guess it must have been pretty bad if even the Trollpasta Wikia wouldn't take it, or wouldn't keep it. It's hard to say. Anyway, this has been our show today, and thank you for tuning into Monster Mondays. Next week, I'm thinking I'll either do the Jeff the Killer, Jane the Killer series, Slender Man, or one of the other options that was voted on last week. Until then, this is the Forsaken Scribe out. And remember, Mom's not here, kids.